and so forth. What bothers me about this also is the fact is that you have a community here that in ordinary circumstances, quote ordinary, I put quotes around it, would be up in arms if the county were to endorse such an effort in another area. This is not a case of NIMBYism. This is a case of RIMBYism, right in my backyard. And RIMBYism is just as questionable in terms of the motivation and objectives of the people involved as is NIMBYism. I mean, I find both problematic. I'd be willing to say here that, or argue, that this is a move of convenience. I think there are options there. I've talked to some folks who have expressed their surprise that this be used in this instance, in this county, at this time. I think they've recommended some of the mechanisms that are out there when you go and try to purify or scarify the soil when you're putting in a vineyard or doing some sort of change with the agricultural processes involved. Like Johnny, I am concerned about the history here in Mendocino County of herbicide use. We had the aerial spraying of herbicides, Greenwood Ridge Road, many years ago. We did not find leadership coming from the Board of Supervisors at that time. We did not find leadership coming from the scientific folks at that time. It became a community effort to deal with the fact that people didn't really appreciate having school kids waiting for the school bus to be sprayed aerially. But of course, our state assembly quickly told the county of Mendocino, you have no authority to make these rules. We were overruled there. But again, there's been a tendency here in Mendocino County to absolutely minimize, prohibit use of herbicides, roadside spraying, community efforts across the board. Gorse is a problem, gorse is a danger. I would not even begin to argue otherwise. But you know, this whole county is a fire trap and will be a fire trap. And I find that a particular community is going to ask us to break the rules here. Well, we break the rules here, we break the norms here. It's wide open from here on out. Maybe we have to spray herbicides, some of our fields. Maybe we have to go and wipe out some roadside vegetation. Again, I'm sorry that we don't have a better solution. But I think here this is, as we say, the cliche, this is a start down a very slippery slope. I think fundamentally it represents the interest of a very narrow community with very narrow interest who are willing to sell out a larger principle in order to be more protected. Does that mean that we should all endorse it? I don't think so. I'm sorry to have to take that position. I'm disappointed that the community there is not prepared to get out, do the hard hand labor work that is necessary, donate blood in the process. But I think the move is a move of convenience. And again, when you have a problem in your backyard, it's amazing how many reasons you can find to justify changes in the procedures that you find appropriate.
Call the question, Mr. Chair.
Could I make a
Sure.
final comment? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Short
I don't think that this is an issue of convenience at all. This is something that it's the only state solution to. I've worked more than any of the other board members historically through our congressional representative trying to get biocontrols for this, and they will come up with biocontrols. They're on the way, they're going to happen. This, I think it's an alarmist thing, Supervisor Colfax, to compare it to aerial spraying or just being easier in our backyard. That's not it at all. It's talking here in this resolution specific, it says it will be painted with a drop, as in a drop of a concentrate. There's no other way to deal with it. I mean, this is a huge issue. It's impacting our state forest, it's impacting private property, it's on the county transfer station. So I think this is a very, very different than the application of herbicides in our roadways, which we have a policy that we don't approve of that, and I concur. And the aerial spraying, I was living in the county at the time and worked on supporting that initiative to not have aerial spraying, because that was clearly had lots of scientific argument against doing so. But this is really the only way to go. I mean, I don't think we're given any other choice or opportunity. And to not be a partner with those 12 agencies or so that our ag commissioner read, I don't think that's in the public interest. Thank you.
Okay, the question's been called for. Let's go to the buttons and place our votes now, please. Okay, the motion passes 3-2 with Supervisor Pinches and Colfax dissenting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, board members.
Okay, let's move to the timed item at 3 p.m. I do know there is a state parks member here, but we do have a timed item before. We're 15 minutes behind schedule now, so please indulge us. Let's move to item 6E, presentation of assessment of demand farm worker housing and transportation in Mendocino County by the California Institute of Rural Studies and the planning team. Please.
Hi, Allison Glassy, Assistant CEO, and going to do a short intro while they're doing the setup. So, as you know, the Farm Worker Housing and Transportation Survey is another piece of the housing element of the general plan, and the planning team has been working very hard to address the items in that housing element. So, we're continuing the discussion around inclusionary housing, and this is another piece of that housing element doing the survey. I would also say that the survey process has been long awaited. There's a great deal of interest in reaching out to parts of our community that are not easily reached through the more conventional methods, and really wanting to hear from them what their needs are, particularly in the arena of housing and transportation. The funding for this came from a grant from Caltrans, and then a small match of county general fund money. So what you're going to hear today is a presentation of the results. This is kind of not a final step in this process, because after this presentation, there will be an additional look at the report, at the data in the report, and how all of that is reflected in the report. And in particular, we want to do a debriefing of this material after this presentation and involve Supervisor Colfax, given his background in statistical analysis, and really to look at this data and how it's going to end up being used. But this is a report. We've gotten kind of to the first step in the conclusion of this effort in the housing element. So, are there any questions regarding this? Okay.
No questions at this time.
Then Diana Hershey a member of the planning team, will do a short introduction, and then the consultant will speak to the report.
Supervisor Delbert.
Ms. Glassy, how long do you think the presentation is going to be?